Entertalk Radio, you're in to all things music.
May the best brand win with Scott Robertson's Music Biz Marketing Strategies. Now, here's your host, Scott Robertson.
Happy Friday the 13th, everybody. You are tuned to May the Best Brand Win on Entertalk Radio, the undisputed leader in music biz talk. And I am Scott, your host for the next hour, and a man who is utterly fearless in the face of Friday the 13th. I don't fear many things. I only fear puppets and Oprah. And like a puppet of Oprah would just scare the crap out of me. Honest to God, that would just be, that's the worst for me. I don't know. And with me in the studio is a man that has no fear that we know of yet, Cedric the Mixer. Cedric, how's it going, man? How's your Friday the 13th treating you? Yeah, you doing good on Friday?
Honestly, I've never had any bad Friday the 13th experiences other than, and I don't know why I remember this, but every Friday the 13th, it's always just bad reruns on TV.
Of Friday the 13th movies, perhaps. Yeah. Maybe that.
Not even that. I was watching. I was like, what? For whatever reason, I remember this. I was like 10. Went to my grandparents' house, and it was like, yeah, they have cable, so I'm gonna watch Nickelodeon, and it was all just bad reruns.
No doubt. You got Miley Cyrus coming at you. Oh, you got all kinds of terrible. No. That's probably Disney Channel, though, honestly.
Yeah, it's all the same.
SpongeBob SquarePants. SpongeBob, right?
Go.
They love the SpongeBob at Nickelodeon. Well, it is Friday the 13th, and you're in luck because you're tuned into the big show here. And this is episode 69 of the big program. And I call it an emotional transference breakthrough. Which sounds like maybe it's like a new age band from the 80s coming back, emotional. And that was Emotional Transference Breakthrough with Why the Hell Are You Listening to This Song? But actually, I have had a breakthrough. And when it comes to emotional branding lately, and I wanted to share it. I wanted to take an episode of the show and really just talk about it. So I'll give you some background first, so you're not just like, what is this guy even talking about? So if you've heard me speak over the years, you're tuned in the show sometimes, or you've ever worked with my company, you know that my view of branding is based on human emotional transference, transferring emotions, from kind of one place to another, and making is a stronger word, helping people feel things about things that they normally wouldn't feel things about, right? That's sort of brand theory 101. Dale Carnegie famously said, when dealing with people, let us remember we are not dealing with creatures of logic. We are dealing with creatures of emotion. And you don't want to argue with Dale because he was the guy that wrote How to Win Friends and Influence People. And you don't want to be on the bad side of a guy that teaches everybody in the world how to make friends. I'm just saying that. So, and for the longest time, I really thought that all emotions were equal. Especially the ones that we're talking about when it comes to branding. But I've recently kind of had a breakthrough, and I realized that there is one that, and I don't know if this is just where I am in my practice, in my kind of growth as a brand expert, these kind of things. But it's really just undeniable the way that I see it now. So I wanted to make sure that I was sharing it with you guys in the audience. So. Well, of course, on this show, we're going to dig into who's winning and losing this week. And baby, was it you want to stay tuned for that because it's just, the show just writes itself. Honest to God, I got to tell you. So we're going to have some fun. We're going to talk about emotions. But first, so here in segment 1, I'm going to do a little education about emotional transference and branding. So what I always tell my clients, actually, there are 78 quantifiable human emotional states. But you can kind of bucket them together in what I like to call the big 7 emotions. And they are love, which includes self-love and ego, fear, or the avoidance of, especially on Friday the 13th, grief, or the avoidance of grief, anger, also the avoidance of anger, anxiety, or the avoidance of anxiety, surprise, and trust. These are the quantifiable emotional states that I always feel it's recommended and great to base your brand in. It's really important. Now, for the longest time, basically the entire time I've run my company, about 6.5 years now, again, I treated all those emotions kind of equally. I said, well, as long as we anchor to one of those emotions, we're going to be okay. We're going to be fine. If it's a bank or a financial institution, we're going to anchor in, something like trust, and we're going to push on that a bunch of different ways, and we're going to be anchored in one of these emotions, so we're going to be good. As long as it's an emotion that, is relevant to what the target audience, wants to get out of the company. Of course, that goes without saying. But the breakthrough that I've had is that I kind of realized that there is one of these emotions that is stronger and more powerful than all the rest of them. And just like the Beatles said it, all you need is love, but not exactly. I'm not like a tree hugging hippie here talking about all you need is love. What I'm saying is all we need is to feed people's egos, self-love and ego. I think that this is the most powerful, and I'm going to talk about this in a minute. What's interesting about it is it just where we are in our society right now, or has this always been the case? And I just sort of got the wake up call, because both of those could be true. But what I think is happening, let me explain to you self-love and ego before I get way ahead of myself. So we all have in our brains these little kind of I am statements that are playing all the time. They make up, our self-concept, our self-image, our self-esteem, however you want to phrase that. And I personally believe that we sort of split off a piece of ourselves every time that we affiliate deeply with a brand. To put it in music terms, you're like, that guy's either a Gibson guy or he's a Fender guy, right? And you instantly know what I mean when I say that. That comes with something, right? It, if you're outside the music industry, you could say that person's an Apple person or a Samsung person or an Apple person or a Microsoft person. Very rarely are you an Apple person and a Microsoft person. That's very rare. That is extraordinarily rare, because you split a part of yourself off on this, and people will sometimes identify with that. So you'll say, I am an Apple user. I am a Ferrari owner. Should you be lucky enough to have one? I see quite a bit of them here in Southern California. I was at the grocery store. There's one that's blocking like 3 parking spaces. It's like, you already own a Ferrari. Don't park like that, man. What's the matter with you? But that person's affiliation statement is, I am a Ferrari owner. He probably has a Ferrari keychain and Ferrari underpants for all we know. But I'm guaranteeing you that there is a deep, connection with the brand for Ferrari. I wonder if Ferrari makes underpants. That'd be a good research project. We could look and see if they do. We know they make keychains, they make hats, shirts, things like that. Probably in Italy, they make underpants. But anyway, I digress. So we're talking about self-love and ego being very, very powerful. And what I personally believe is that, we all have these I am statements. We all care the most about completing and aligning ourselves with our I am statements, right? It reminds me of a line from the movie The Three Kings with George Clooney. And George Clooney said, man's most important desire in life is not to be loved. It's not to be wanted. It's not to be included. It's not to be any of those things. It's to be right. And what he meant by that is right, not like factually right, but in congruency with what the inner world sees. The inner world sees the person as, I'm funny, I'm, I'm healthy, I am a good saver, I am, a good father, I am, whatever those statements end up being. And then the outer world conforms to that. And the degree in which you're happy is, according to this theory, is the degree in which those two things line up. And some psychologists believe that people work their entire lives constantly to try to make their outer world match their inner world, which is, again, why self-esteem is so important. Because if you have negative self-esteem, that whole making your outer world match your inner world is also true. But unfortunately, you're kind of sabotaging yourself and damaging yourself. Again, not to get too psychological on you for the marketing show here, but it's really important that you know that if you're a marketer, because this is the playground that we are trying to play in all the time. We have to be really, really good and really smart about that. So here's the thing, here's the question that I kind of wrestle with. As a society, are we more self-centered and narcissistic today? I think that we are. I think that our society looks, it looks more to ourselves than other people. I think social media, and there can be an argument, does it reflect where we were as a society, or did social media cause it? But however you want to come down on that argument, the bottom line is that we have social networks that are dedicated to basically shining up a mirror so we could look at ourselves a bunch of different ways hundreds of times a day, and an argument can be made that our society is much more self-centered and narcissistic than today. And I'm not sitting here pounding the pulpit going, well, in my, society shouldn't be that. Society is what society is. As a marketer, you have to know where the cones are, right? Where's the box? If you're playing in a more self-centered and narcissistic society, then you need to play it to your advantage. And that is, again, why I am talking about, love and self-love and ego. Some of the best brands around are based on this, are based on completing your I am statements. I mean, I always talk about Apple. Apple's tagline is, "You're more powerful than you think," right? So what is that saying? That's basically, if you have an I am statement that says, "I am powerful," I am powerful and I am productive, I am great in so many different ways, then all Apple has to do, because you already believe that to be true, all Apple really has to do is just say, yeah, that's true, but see how much more true it is when you're using our stuff, right? Can you see how that really helps you get what you want, which is to be seen as more productive and powerful and all those kind of things? And it's subtle. Branding is always, the best branding is always very subtle, and it actually requires very little work because the audience is already sort of, bought in to the I am statements if you've done it correctly. Let's look at Nike. Just do it. Just do it. The you pronoun is in there and it's understood, right? In parentheses, you just do it. And again, that's a brand that's about, pushing yourself further than you've ever gone before. But it's all about you and sort of that personal journey as you affiliating yourself and, as an athlete, right? All the way back to, if I buy these Michael Air Jordan shoes, there's a part of me that believes that maybe I can jump a little better. I can jump a lot better. None of that is true. None of that is true. However, people believe that, so marketing is kind of those stories that we tell people that they already kind of want to believe. And it's important to know that stuff. It really, really is. But I really, really do believe that, that love and self-love and ego is our strongest emotion today. I believe that you can anchor in other emotions. Like I said, if we talk about a bank, a bank could obviously anchor in trust. It could anchor itself in trust and say, well, you can trust us. We've been here for this. We haven't had a breach in almost 10 days. It's like you could find different marketing messages to anchor yourself in trust. But the real power for a bank is going to be to go a little bit deeper than that and be able to talk to people like, what if their I am statements were, I'm good at saving money. I'm a responsible adult. I'm a responsible adult who has a checking and a savings account, and I'm responsible with my money. And what if you started to tie into those kind of things, and you suddenly were able to say, well, of course, you're very responsible with your money, but of course, with our bank, we're gonna help you, be even more responsible with your money, and we're only going to take a small percentage of your money to do that for that service. It's very important. My contention to you folks in Radio Land today is that all of these other emotions, you can anchor your brand to, and you can have success. And plenty of people do. But you should take a strong look at love and self-love and ego as an ultimate place where you can anchor your brand, because that is the place where people are. That's what's going to work the most, with them. And the reason it's going to work the most is not like we're villains in a back room, twisting our dastardly mustaches and going, hey, this will make them feel something. I always tell people it's marketing. It's not mind control. But what you can do is, when you understand the mind, you can actually talk to people in sort of the terms that they want to hear. Now, knowing this whole emotional approach, and you're hearing me talk about this, most of the marketing that you see, kind of deals with a lot of surface level messages, right? We've got a sale this week. We've got, here's a discount coupon code to get 15% off your order. Those are the things that we choose to communicate as organizations. Organizations choose to kind of communicate, those kind of things. And my feeling is that you shouldn't. That you should try to base everything that you're doing around a larger story that helps people complete I am statements about themselves. I think that is a better approach. I think that's the approach that's going to win. It's going to be easier to do the things you're doing, and you're never going to fall into the huge trap of marketing, which is where your brand becomes all about you because you're really comfortable talking about yourself. We've been in business since 1984, and we've served this many customers, and we have this. No one cares. No one. Let me jump to the end of your marketing message. No one cares. No one cares. Okay. Even the people that help you write it, they don't care either. Okay. So make your message about the target audience. It's just really, really important to do. We're having a breakthrough and a breakdown today here on May the Best Brand Win on Entertalk Radio, the undisputed leader in music biz talk. You guys come on back. We're going to talk about who's winning and losing. And oh my gosh, is it going to be fun. We'll see you in a few.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Al Di Meola, Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. Allow me to be your music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove on?
Hi, I'm Tim Dolbear, the host of Sound Experience on Entertalk Radio. Each week, I talk with top professional audio engineers, producers, musicians, and the manufacturers that make the tools that we use in the studio each and every day. From capturing the perfect take to mastering your final release, and the tools and how the pros use them, we are going to dive deep into their process and learn from their experience. I look forward to you joining us each week on Sound Experience with me, your host, Tim Dolbear.
Make this your vinyl night. I'm John J.R. Robinson, and every week, music creation comes alive through stories, experiences, and sounds when vinyl records filled our hearts and minds. My friends and I share our tips and techniques used in creation of iconic tracks for recording artists such as Michael Jackson, Eric Clapton, Quincy Jones, and Steve Winwood, to name a few. Vinyl has emerged hot, and the soul of vinyl defines art and passion which burns deepest at night. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on EntertalkRadio.com.
May the best brand win with Scott Robertson's Music Biz Marketing Strategies. Now, here's your host, Scott Robertson.
Hey, everybody, it's Friday, and you are tuned to May the Best Brand Win on Entertalk Radio, the undisputed leader in music biz talk. I am Scott, here on Friday the 13th with Cedric, who is avoiding black cats and ladders and all kinds of other superstitious things. How's it going, Cedric?
It's going all right. But I don't know, man. You kind of broke my heart with that last segment. Are you telling me that I overpaid for these shoes and I can't dunk yet?
Exactly. Well, Nike says you can. If you believe it to be true, maybe it's true for you. Who knows?
All right.
Well, let's dig into who's winning and who's losing. Gotta start with Harvey Weinstein. My goodness. So Harvey Weinstein, I mean, there's so many things that could be said, but from a branding and communication standpoint, let's say it this way. Lots of problems, right? For a long period of time. Let's just take it from a corporate perspective. The Weinstein Company. The Weinstein Company knew about this behavior for a good long time and didn't say anything, right? People in Hollywood knew about this behavior for a good long time, and it's really bad behavior, as it turns out. There's criminal charges, there's big investigations, there's a lot of layers to this story. And from a communication standpoint, here's what I'll say. If there is someone in your company, that is sexually harassing people, you need to blow the whistle on them as soon as you can, because that is not going to work out for you. It's not going to work out for your company. It could cost everybody their jobs down the line. It could cost, and plus, just in the bucket of being a human being, that behavior is not okay. It's not okay. So after there was rumors that Harvey was going, to have all these charges, and he's going to be, kicked out of his own company and all this kind of things. He takes out a full page ad in the New York Times. I believe I talked about on the show last week, which basically said, which was the worst piece of communications I think I've seen in recent memory, that said, hey, that's just how, I came up in the 70s and 60s and 70s, and that's just how we did it back then. And you just face palm. You're just going, how could you even say something so stupid and not even say it? Not even say it, but intentionally write it down and put it in a full page ad in the New York Times. You're an idiot if you do things like that. That's like a full on page that says, well, I'm kind of sorry. He might as well have said, sorry, not sorry, Harvey, at the bottom, because that's what that message was, And if you thought that Harvey, Weinstein was the dumbest thing you heard of this week, oh, don't worry. Donna Karen, his good friend, was like, hey, hold my beer. It was unreal. So she came to Harvey's defense, which is not what you want to do for a sexual harasser and potential rapist. And she basically said, and Donna Karen, of course, is the fashion mogul. She runs DKNY, all those kind of things. She said, and you won't believe it when I say it, but she directed the blame back at the women, saying that they were asking for it by presenting themselves in an overly sexualized way. She said that in a red carpet interview on Sunday. So here's my PR tip, and I don't work in the fashion industry. Thank you, Jesus, for that. But if I did, then my counsel would go like this: if people ask you about somebody that's not you, shut the hell up. There is nothing you can add. There is no upside for your part of the story here. Here's how you answer that question. Well, Donna, you must be crushed. What do you think about what do you think about Harvey? It's terrible. It's a terrible thing, and I hope that people just work it out, figure it out. Next question. Move on. Be vague. Be boring. Don't say anything weird. Don't say anything like women are asking for it. Don't say things like that, because that statement is going to cost you your job, and it's going to cost you, your company, and your company, it's going to cost you all these kind of things. And why would you do it? Just because a reporter kind of baited you into saying something? It's like these people don't have any media training. When a reporter baits you, you know what you do? You're just boring. You're just boring. You're like, that's terrible. I agree. Yeah, we got to win them one game at a time. Yeah, I know. It's terrible. I'm just here to help the ball club. I hope God willing, one day, I hope we're going to be able to find. Be boring. Boring is the best cure for any crisis situation, because nobody's going to run anything that's boring, right? I know. It's like rocket science, isn't it? But I'm just saying this whole Weinstein Company thing is nuts. And then we're talking about branding this whole episode. The Weinstein Company is talking about changing its name. It's going to rebrand and call itself, something, I guess we're not affiliated with, and we are not that Weinstein Company. Who's to say? But anyway, that's what's going on in that neck of the woods. Then that's all kinds of terrible, and for Harvey Weinstein, again, obviously this isn't an isolated incident. This didn't happen once. It wasn't a mistake. We're talking about, what appears to be certainly a long-running pattern of behavior, and a pretty sick individual that just felt like he could treat women this way for a good long time, and that's not okay. And that is not ever okay. It's not cool. I don't care who you are. I don't care how many movies you make. I don't care what who whatever else. The behavior is inexcusable, and somebody in the company should have figured it out and got in front of this faster too. Wouldn't surprise me at all if they end up, taking a really big hit from the corporate side as well. But let's move on. There was a story that came out in NPR this week about songs that we should retire, and I always like that. It basically starts out with the phrase, if I hear that song one more time, and then this reporter says, so here's a couple of things on his list of songs that we should retire. Harry Chapin's "Cats in the Cradle." Can't we just retire it? Oh man, it's so mean, actually. He says John Lennon's "Imagine" has been imagined one too many times. I don't know if you can get tired of John Lennon, to be honest. He did put one on here, Pharrell's "Happy." Now that song has been massively overplayed, and I could definitely see that going away. The problem with doing a story like this is, it's going to be obviously your opinion and yours alone, because for every person that you want to get on board of getting rid of the Harry Chapin song, there's going to be people that say, I love that song. I can't, when that song comes on, yada, 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 it's like going to Rotten Tomatoes, and people are like, and people are reviewing Blade Runner or the My Little Pony movie. Do you know there were positive reviews posted on Rotten Tomatoes for the My Little Pony movie? So you wouldn't think so, but straight up, there were people that were into that and liked it. And there you go. So it's a diverse society out there. People don't assume everybody sees it. But I don't know if I put that in winning or losing. I just thought it was interesting, the songs that you should retire. I would definitely put, I think we can all agree about Pharrell's "Happy," though. I think we could just take a break from it. It's a fun song. We could all just have a break. What's really winning is the U.S. economy. It's really a story came out on CNBC this week, talks about why the economy is in such good shape. So there's the optimism among the peoples for the economy is at a 10-year high. Manufacturing activity is at a 13-year high. Service sector activity at a 12-year high. There are a record 6.2 million open jobs in America. Semi-truck sales are out of control strong. And out of control is hyphenated in that sentence. So it's that's an adjective. Out of control strong. Intermodal rail traffic hit a record, which I can't imagine what that is or why you would care. The median home sales price rose more than 5% last year, which we certainly know here in good old Southern California. The bottom line is, stock market has created a ton of wealth. the economy is just going crazy. So I think all of us can be excited about that. I personally believe that if the news media just reported good news about the economy, then the economy would always be in great shape. Because when what people sort of believe to be true turns out to be true. It's a concept called the media recession. And it goes like this. When people start reporting negative news, people start holding their money, people stop hiring, people make kind of fear-based decisions. As human beings, we're always kind of rooted in fear first. And so fear is our go-to. And it's not like a character flaw. That's a human nature biology thing, just so you know. So, but the economy's in great shape right now. And I think if the news media just put out a great shape story every couple of weeks, it would continue to be in great shape always. But you know who's losing? Toys R Us. Toys R Us has, filed bankruptcy. I think we talked about it on this show. And lots of people aren't getting paid. So they owe, now look at they owe some money to some big toy makers. They owe $14 million to Jax. That's a big toy maker. They owe $7.5 billion to a group that includes every major toy maker in the country. Mattel is owed $136 million. Hasbro is owed $59 million, and Spin Masters owed $33 million. Lego, see Lego making a bunch of money all over the place, but they're owed $32 million. And Radio Flyer is owed $12 million. Crayola is owed $2.6 million. So now all these people aren't going to get paid, and that's a shame. That's one of the problems with restructuring and bankruptcy. The problem that we are experiencing with some of these large retailers, in my opinion, is the fact that model, obviously that model doesn't exist anymore. The model that can support a huge store with a bunch of retail employees and all of this inventory on the store shelves. It's just not necessary anymore. Having things like that. We like to buy things online. There's still a role for Toys R Us, but they need to look at how they can be more innovative, and how they can decrease cost. Right? It's not how much you make; it's how much you keep. And obviously, these big box, type of stores need to be looking at a lot of different models to control their cost structure. I mean, that's really the issue that we're talking about: is how do you get costs in line and compete with the Amazons of the world, the Walmarts of the world, things like that. So, anyway, who's really losing is Dove. Actually, Dove is knee deep in controversy. They actually put out an ad which shows a black woman taking off her shirt, and it reveals a white woman underneath. So they were quick to pull the offending video, and they have since apologized for missing the mark on the representation of diversity. People all over Twitter and social media were calling BS on the company's claim regret, and they're comparing the ad to the infamous Pierce soap campaign from the 1800s, which displayed black children being scrubbed clean and turning white. It stuns me. Dove usually gets it right. Dove usually, gets it right. They have a lot of, good success. Unilever company and Dove and that kind of thing. But I think, man, what a miss. Why would you have an ad that, where the black woman takes off her shirt and becomes a white woman? I mean, that's stupid. That's stupid anyway. I mean, and is there no one in the marketing department that raises their hand and go, you know what, this might offend people. This could be a problem. This may be stupid. You always need somebody in your company that will raise their hand and give you the honest truth. And I think, I don't know why that doesn't happen in more companies, but almost everything I talk about on the losing list here can be avoided if you just don't release it. If you don't release this ad, or if you have anybody on your staff that has any common sense at all about how the world takes things, then you don't release this ad, and then there's no story. It never happens, right? Just terrible, 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 terrible. Why would you do such a thing? And speaking of things like that, Mark Zuckerberg took a Facebook virtual reality tour of the ruins of Puerto Rico, and basically he used it to show off the features of the virtual reality product. You know, here's some really neat features of Facebook Spaces, and we're going to look through the ruins of storm-ravaged Puerto Rico as a backdrop for the VR Hangout. If you're in PR at Facebook, this is when you walk into the room and you go, you know, I don't feel like that this is going to be seen well. I think that, why don't we do a virtual tour of, like anywhere else? Anywhere else. I don't care. Let's go to Paris. Let's go hang out with the Eiffel Tower. Let's go do something, something else. Why are we looking at storm-ravaged Puerto Rico? It is the most insensitive and completely stupid thing that you could possibly do. And then they get all this flack, understandably. While people are going, what are you doing? Puerto Rico has no running water or electricity, but you're showing it on, Zuckerberg's has a video of him and, sitting on top of a rooftop at Facebook campus. And then they, have to use Facebook Spaces to get to work. It's just, it's just, it's just ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. We need more people in the PR boardroom standing up and shutting stupid stuff down. One more last thing I want to talk about is the Boy Scouts. The Boy Scouts announced this week that they were going to plans to admit girls into the Cub Scouts and to establish a program for older Scouts using the same curriculum as Boy Scouts. The communication between the Girl Scouts of America and the Boy Scouts of America on this was crazy ridiculous. You got to check it out. I don't have time to do it justice, but the president of the Girl Scouts basically absolutely went off in all kinds of PR ways on the Boy Scouts, and that's not cool. You guys need to handle your Boy Scout, Girl Scout dirty laundry, at the campsite or something, but not out in public. And they need some PR counsel too. It's like, what is the matter with you folks that you want to air this fight between these two organizations that are supposed to promote tolerance and all the good, characteristics of our boys and girls, and our boys and girls are going to see you idiots fighting in the media? Shame on you. Seriously, grow the hell up, by the way, too. Grow up. Okay? I know there's finances involved and all these other kind of things, but speaking as a person that is a former Eagle Scout, I was personally embarrassed by the exchange. It was stupid. That's who's winning and losing this week, folks. Come on back. I'm going to give you some tips to how to win with your emotional branding. We'll see you in a few.
Hi, I'm Tim Dolbear, the host of Sound Experience on Entertalk Radio. Each week, I talk with top professional audio engineers, producers, musicians, and the manufacturers that make the tools that we use in the studio each and every day. From capturing the perfect take to mastering your final release, and the tools and how the pros use them, we are going to dive deep into their process and learn from their experience. I look forward to you joining us each week on Sound Experience with me, your host, Tim Dolbear.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
Make this your vinyl night. I'm John J.R. Robinson, and every week, music creation comes alive through stories, experiences, and sounds when vinyl records filled our hearts and minds. My friends and I share our tips and techniques used in creation of iconic tracks for recording artists such as Michael Jackson, Eric Clapton, Quincy Jones, and Steve Winwood, to name a few. Vinyl has emerged hot, and the soul of vinyl defines art and passion which burns deepest at night. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on EntertalkRadio.com.
This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Al Di Meola, Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. Allow me to be your music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove on?
May the best brand win with Scott Robertson's Music Biz Marketing Strategies. Now, here's your host, Scott Robertson.
Hey, happy Friday, everybody. You are tuned to May the Best Brand Win on Entertalk Radio, the undisputed leader in music biz talk. I am Scott. I'm hanging with Cedric. We just talked about who's winning and losing. There's a lot of stupid in one segment. Cedric, what are you thinking?
Well, I don't know if I should even be surprised by the amount of stupid. You know what I am? I don't know if I am surprised by this, but finding out that you're an Eagle Scout. Like,
I know, right?
I wouldn't have thought of it, but now that I think about it, I'm like, this makes sense.
This makes sense. Yeah, I did. It takes you a long time to get that. So I actually, I suffered the slings and arrows of I got my Eagle Scout, and I was like 17 when I got it.
Oh,
right?
Nice. That's early.
So
yeah.
You're kind of, most kids are kind of out of Boy Scouts by the time you're 17, 18 years old.
I don't know. For whatever reason, my high school band, I think we had 3 Eagle Scouts in it.
Nice. Yeah, there you go.
We were all seniors. And I think at the end, one of the guys was finishing up his senior year, and he was stressed about his Eagle project. Exactly.
It's really hard to get, man. I would tell you. I'm glad I did it, but it's quite a bit of work, and and it's it's a great thing. It's a great thing, but it's terrible to see the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts. It's terrible for the Scouts to see their organizations doing that in the media, because it's just that's not a good example. It's simply not. It's simply not a good example for them to be putting out there. And then and I was nice about it. I mean, the communications between the heads of these two organizations in the news stories will blow you off the back of your feet. You will not even believe the stuff that they say about each other.
Oh, come on.
It's not okay at all. Like I said, I'm being nice, but it's like they say really nasty stuff about each other. So, anywho, we're gonna move on. That was who's winning and losing, but we're gonna move on to in segment 3 here. I always like to leave you guys with some good tips. And this whole episode, episode 69, we've been talking about emotional transference and branding. And emotional transference, of course, is helping people feel something about a brand that ordinarily they wouldn't feel. And it gives you, the brand storyteller, the ability to tap into a much deeper and richer story level. And we talked about kind of love, self-love being kind of the first among equals when it comes to an emotion, because, well, it's either because our society is more self-centered and narcissistic today, which it could be, or it's because it just works better, and I'm just sort of figuring that out right now. And like I said, I'm not exactly sure what the answer is, but it is something that I'm noticing. So when I do brand messaging sessions with companies, I'm almost always going to focus and look for a way to use love, self-love, ego, first. And if there are secondary kind of anchor points and other emotions, use those, secondarily, I guess. But I'm going to give you some tips on how you can do, emotional branding better. My first tip is, research and listen to your audience a lot, and specifically listen for triggers that might give away emotions. And what you're looking for are folks that have already sort of affiliated with the brand and sort of what the brand means to them, and you have to kind of be able to read between the lines on this kind of stuff. But, you have to start asking questions as to, what does the affiliation with our brand mean to them? Not what we want it to mean to them or what anything else, but it's like, if they chose us, why? And then you keep digging on why. You want to look for, again, triggers that might kind of give away what those emotions are. But you really just can't do any better than research. Listen to your audience. So much marketing today is just sort of a punchline. It's just sort of a it's just a list of tactics that someone said once that we had to do. And it's almost done, without any regard to the customer. There's so much marketing that I get, Musician's Friend is out there, right? I buy things from Musician Friend. I buy strings. I've bought guitars from them. I buy things from Musician's Friend, right? Musician's Friend feels like it's okay to send me not one, but 2 emails every single day. So that is a classic example of putting yourself over your audience's needs. I'm really busy. I run things. I run a band. I run a company. I'm running a podcast right now. I'm busy. I don't have time for 2 emails from you a day. Okay? And usually they're just like, they don't say anything. They're just like, 15% off, see our sale. They're sales-driven things. Let me speak to the salespeople in the audience. Stop it. Okay? Back off. If you want a brand relationship with somebody, be respectful of their time. Have a thought that goes through your head that goes like this. I wonder if maybe we shouldn't send 2 emails per day out to the audience. I wonder if we could pick our shot and do something really special for them, like once a week or once a month, or I wonder if there's another way to do this, to attract people to our content, to do other kind of things. That's my example of a company, a fairly successful company, I guess, right? And I do buy from them and stuff, but it's sort of, I buy from them sort of, almost grudgingly, because I'm just like, you guys are terrible. You're terrible at marketing and sales and everything associated with it, to be honest. Because and reason you're terrible at it is not, is because you are putting your needs above mine. Your desperation and need to sell me something does not, is not greater than my need to not hear from you and to not have my inbox filled with your crap. Okay? It's really important. When I work with my clients, in every corporation I've ever worked for, I sit down with them and I say, okay, so we're starting with the perception that the audience doesn't really want to hear from us. Now, how can we earn it? How can we be great? How can we earn this? Why are we communicating with them? What makes us think that we have something so special enough to say to interrupt their day and that kind of thing? That kind of thinking, anchors your brand in, respect and reverence for their time. And I will tell you that there are no companies out there that I can see that give a flying crap about my time or my needs. They say they do. But they're all about their needs. And I can tell. I can see it. You can definitely see it. Be more about their needs. Their needs. Very important. Tip number 2. Spend time on your core brand message and figure out your core emotion for your brand. When you do that, you don't have to send out 2 emails a day. All you have to do is help people kind of complete their I am statements. Like, let's take Musician's Friend for an example. We already showed them as an example of what not to do, sending 2 emails. Now, what could that look like? Well, what if my I am statement was, I like to have all the latest gadgets and gear that goes on. And they say, oh, well, because you're a person that likes to have all the latest gadgets and gear, we spend time kind of curating the news wires and find all the latest products. And this is all the latest products that are coming out from the industry, and some of these things, of course, we sell them. I'm saying we sell them, but really, it's all about your need to hear about the latest things, and you want to hear about it from us because you bought from us and you trust us and that kind of thing. Now, wouldn't that kind of approach be interesting? It'd be much more interesting than President's Day sale or it's a fall sale. I got a thing from them the other day. It said, it's fall. Use promo code fall to 17. I went, a season of the year is not, it's not a thing. That's not a thing that you should use to sell with. Desperate? Could you be more desperate is my question back, And the answer to that question is you could not be any more desperate, just so you know. So don't be desperate. It's so bad. It's the world's worst cologne. Okay? Don't. You ever see Apple? You ever see Apple send you anything and goes, 15, 20% off, use promo code FALL and get a free iPad? Hell no. Because their message goes like this. I'm not sure you're really worth it. You're really worthy. I mean, our stuff's for really powerful people. So I don't know. Are you? Well, maybe you are. I don't know. I mean, maybe. What do you think? You think you are? That kind of thing. That their message is twinged with a little bit of Steve Jobs arrogance in everything they do. And it works really, really well, right? Because you try to kind of push yourself up into the Apple class of things. And then what do they get? They get sales off it, but they don't have to beat you over the head with an iPad to do it. Really, really important. Having that core brand message is really, really important. Figuring out what core emotion for your brand, what I am statements you can complete for your audience, that kind of stuff. That's next level marketing. That's the kind of branding that is a real brand. There's so many people in my profession, so many people in the music industry, so many people that use the word brand and have no friggin' idea what branding is. Branding is very simply emotional transference, allowing people to feel something about the brand, that increases their relationship and their affiliation with the company in some meaningful way. Really, really important stuff. Okay, so spend time on that core brand message. I see so many people, so many marketing companies out there that are just so anxious to communicate, and they just don't have any sort of message. They don't have anything to say, so they just say it a bunch of times and pray and kind of spray and pray and hope that works. That is not a strategy. That is not a strategy that's going to work for you. That is not a strategy that's going to work, period. Don't do it. Thanks for playing. Tip number 3. Take that foundation that you spend all this time on, your core brand message, and now build your marketing plan around that thing, right? The messaging piece is the foundation. It's the core of absolutely everything that we're going to do. But the marketing plan should build around that. What do I mean by that? It means it's not just a bunch of tactics that we threw together and said, we're going to do a social post and we're going to do a press release and we're going to do all these kind of things. Everything you can answer the question, why are we doing this? And you can push it back up to, because it helps us. It's another brick in the wall that helps us kind of tell our story that is, that shows people that they are, use my musician's friend example, we know that our customers want to hear about all the latest, greatest stuff. They really affiliate with the idea of that they are in the know and they have all the latest gadgets and they're really like cool gadget people. Okay, right? Let's say it's a segment of our audience, whatever. And then you take that and say, now how do we make sure that everything that we're doing in the marketing plan is built to that, is built around that, is built around that objective? And of course, be right about the objective, or the whole thing falls apart. But I'm just saying that's what's really, really important. Don't just have a marketing plan that is a bunch of garbage to shoot at people. Make sure that you can answer, why are we doing this at all times? At all times. When I go in and I'm doing an audit and I'm working with a company and I'm auditing their marketing, I ask that question a lot. I'm like, so why are we doing this? And the answer I usually get is because we've always done it. Because we've always done it, and it's on the list, and it's something we've always done. And I said, great, we've always done a lot of things, but that's not an answer to the question. An answer to the question is a strategic answer that points back to a marketing plan and some form of a strategy, so that we're not just doing a whole big laundry list of tactics and stuff. Okay? That's the difference between strategic marketing and just kind of your general generic bull crap, throw anything and see if it sticks to the wall kind of marketing. Okay? And there's too few people doing it my way. There's too few people doing it with the right strategic approach. We need to do better, marketers. We can do better. Don't be lazy, and don't do it because you've always done it. That's stupid. Okay? We want to do things because they make sense, and then we want to stop doing things because they make sense, when they make sense to stop doing them too. Tip number 4, man, resist the urge to get back to communicating what the tech industry calls like speeds and feeds. Resist the urge to talk about all your amazing features and stuff, unless you can put it in a context of, unless you can push it up and say, we're telling you this because it feeds this need, which we know you have, and which, make sure you can make that connection back. There's a lot of marketing that comes out and just, they think that marketing is just, well, give me a list of features. Give me a list of features of things that it does or whatever. No, we don't buy products for lists of features. We don't. Otherwise, Samsung will be one of the, Samsung has superior features to Apple, but they're getting their butts handed to them in every category across the way where they compete with Apple. Why is that? They have superior products, superior technology. Obviously they have phones that explode too, but let's just take it from a features and benefits standpoint. Why is that? Because Apple makes you feel something. Apple creates a class of people, an affiliation, like wear the T-shirt, kind of a feeling around the, like a community, like we're following a band kind of thing, and Samsung is just a company. It's just a company that talks about features. And that's all there'll ever be. There's no personal connection there because they make that choice, It's a bad choice. Don't make that choice. That's bad marketing, right? Do it the way Apple does it. They have more money than any company in the history of planet Earth has ever had. They have more money than most countries have. Most countries' treasuries pale in comparison to Apple. Tip number 5, be consistent. Play the long game. Remember, we're talking about relationships, right? So be consistent in your emotional branding. It's really, really important. If you're going to, lock into people's I am statements, it's really important that you have a level of consistency in how you do that kind of stuff. Folks, the Beatles, they had it right. All your brand needs is love, self-love to be really successful. Why? Because that's how we're wired. It's how we think. It's how we feel. And it's really just making your marketing work with human nature, as opposed to sort of pushing against it and being blocked out by it. Because, I think when you make your marketing about them, then it's just possible that they may have already accepted it without even knowing it. Rock on, marketing fans. Until next week, this has been Scott Robertson, host of May the Best Brand Win on Entertalk Radio, the undisputed leader in music biz talk. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week with a fresh show. Bye-bye. You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Entertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Hi, this is Tim Dolbear from Eclectica Studios. I'm a full-time mixing and recording engineer. I work with Grammy winners, labels, and indie artists, using state-of-the-art digital mixing and restoration tools and the very best in analog gear. Really, though, it's my ability to bring tracks to life and fulfill your vision for your music. This has made me sought after by producers and artists worldwide. So spend your time working on music and not chasing a mix down a rabbit hole. Go to timdolbear.com and check out our free one-song mix offer.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Al DiMeola, Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. Allow me to be your music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove on?